Closed sessions. I'd like to ask everyone to stand for the pledge, please. Is there somebody from our snow spotlight class that would like to lead us in the pledge? Can you come up?
Mom spent a lot of money in that hair.
Thank you. So with that, I will report out on actions taken during closed session. In the first item, actually, let me go in order here. This was 4.3, right? And then the other one was, okay, so I'll just go in order. So we did take action in regarding item 4.3 regarding anticipated litigation. In closed session, the board considered the claim of Julie Radcliffe and Deborah Romero on behalf of themselves and all other similarly situated and decided to return late claims and reject timely claims by a vote of 5 ayes. The motion was made by Member Gutierrez with a second by Member Nguyen. Sorry about that. The next item was around existing litigation. We took action on case 201-911-0803 and OH case 201-909-1071, 2 cases, 1 student. The motion was to approve the staff recommendation. The motion was made by Member Rodriguez, seconded by Member Gutierrez, and the motion was approved 5 ayes. And with that, we move to item 7, recognitions and celebrations.
Yes, good evening, President and members of our board and community. I'm going to ask Ms. Tomasini, principal at Snow Elementary, to please come forward. And I know she's got many students and teachers and community members here this evening to support her, and we'll recognize them as we go throughout, but please share with us all the wonderful things happening at Snow Elementary. Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening, Board President, Board members, Superintendent Salinas, and Cabinet members. I'm Jessica Tomasini, the principal of HA Snow Elementary. It is an honor and privilege to represent our teachers, staff, students, and families this evening, so thank you for this opportunity. Oh, sorry. So at HA Snow Elementary School, we prepare our students for a successful life by providing a world-class education that supports all children with a thought-provoking, academically rigorous education within a safe, compassionate, and tolerant school. This is our school at a glance, the classes that we have. So this year we do have a number of combination classes, as you can see. We have 1 kindergarten class, a kindergarten and first grade combination, 1 first grade class, 1 first and second grade class combination, a second grade class, 2 third grade classrooms. We have 2 SDC classes. 1 is a 2nd through 4th grade, 1 is a 3rd through 6th, and then 1 4th, a 4th and 5th grade combo, 1 5th and 2 6th grade classes. And this is our playground after a recent stormy morning. One of our teachers, Ms. Malon, took a fabulous picture of our playground with the rainbow going over it. So thank you. Shout out to Mrs. Balon. So at Snow, we have a number of great programs going on to support our students. Some things going on this year, our kindergarten and first grade teachers as a Title I school are a part of the SEAL training that's happening at all Title I schools this year. The Sobrato Early Academic Language Model is a model that supports English learners. Next year, our 2nd and 3rd grade teachers will be a part of that training as well. This year, we had an opportunity as a grant that Mr. Neal from the junior high found out about, that Avid had a grant happening, and we were able to take part in some training this year for our upper grade teachers. So because our primary teachers will have the SEAL training, I wanted to find something for our upper grade teachers. And so we attended a training in October for the AVID program, Advancement via Individual Determination. At the elementary level, AVID has a focus on organization and note-taking, so our 4th through 6th grade teachers have really taken that and run with it. They're working on Cornell notes with their students, 2 and 3 column note-taking, and as well as the organization piece. We have, to support our students behaviorally, the Positive Behavioral Intervention and Support Program, PBIS. We have one clinician from EVAC, the East Bay Agency for Children, on site to support students who have Medi-Cal and a need for that service. We have a makerspace that's been a work in progress, but is now up and running. We participate in PLCs, professional learning communities. We currently have an Ohlone chemistry program going on as an after-school program. We have an intervention teacher who supports students during the daytime, as well as some teachers who provide after-school intervention. Some of our student clubs include a clean team, a green team, and an art club. And we have a number of outdoor education opportunities. So we have a school garden that has been at our site for a number of years. Our kindergarten classrooms last year added gardening beds to their playground, and so that's something that they'll be getting up and running for the springtime. They had it going last year. And our science resource teacher has an area at the back of our school with native plants that she often takes students out to for observations and note-taking. Some fun things coming up is we have our variety show coming up soon. Auditions for that are happening next week. And we're in the process of starting a ballet folklorico group. And so invitations for students to participate in that will be going out next week. And we're really excited about that program. One of our high school students will be supporting our parents and teachers that'll be leading that program. Our data at SNO, starting with the most current data, does show a decline. However, we're hopeful and confident that with the programs that we have in place this year, that trend will change for next year's data. We work closely with our SEAL coaches. So we have Michaela Ashmore as our support for SEAL. She's one of the teachers on special assignment for that program, as well as Kim Nickerson, who are both housed at SNO. And so Michaela supports our teachers, and Kim is also around when we have questions for both of them. In order to also change this trend for math, we work closely with the teacher on special assignment for math, Melissa Moore, and she has led our staff in PD this year, and she also is working closely with a number of our teachers in the classroom, supporting with different lessons, observing and giving feedback. So that's a great opportunity that we're happy to have. With PBIS, we have a number of opportunities for students to be rewarded for their positive behavior. There are signs up around campus reminding students of our 3 main school rules: being safe, respectful, and responsible, as well as specific examples of how that looks in different areas of the school. So in regards to technology, in the cafeteria, library, classroom, that way they understand what's expected of them. They have a chance to earn Blizzard Bear Pride Awards. So the white copy is something that individual students can earn and then keep. Every other week we have a PBIS store. So we have a number of different prizes worth different amounts of Blizzard Bear Awards that they can shop for. So our kindergartners get to shop in their classrooms. 1st and 2nd graders actually go to our makerspace room where our prizes are held, and we have parent volunteers who help out regularly for that. And then our 3rd through 6th grade students fill out their orders on menus, and then the parents go around and deliver that to them. The Golden Blizzard Bear is for classes who are caught showing positive behavior. So another teacher can reward that to, or any staff member can reward that to a class who's showing exceptional behavior, being safe, respectful, and responsible, and they have a chance to earn extra a bonus recess time every month for that. These are some recent events that we had at Snow. So we recently held a spelling bee where our winner was Joseph Gomez, a 5th grader, and he'll be going on to the county spelling bee in March. So we're excited about that. And then we recently had Kaiser come and do their peace signs assembly, and they worked with our 3rd through 6th grade classrooms. Following the assembly, the next day they came back and supported with workshops in the classrooms to give students opportunities to debrief about the assembly they held, where they talked about a number of issues surrounding how students can deal with each other and deal with issues that come up on the playground or in the classroom, how they can deal with difficult situations that might be happening at home. And so there were a lot of great conversations around that. At Snow, we like to have fun. We had a readathon earlier in the year, and the reward for students who raised $100 or more was that they got to turn me into an ice cream sundae. So these are some of our students who were putting whipped cream and chocolate syrup and strawberry syrup on me, and all the classes were invited to come out and watch, so that was a fun event. We also had a STEAM arcade assembly this year. This was new to our school. That was a very popular assembly that we plan to bring back next year. And it was an opportunity for students to play different games. But before they got to play, there was a presentation about careers in gaming. They talked about the importance of patterns and how those games are created. So it was a very valuable learning experience that everybody enjoyed. And our staff is hoping next year they get a chance to play the games. Some joined that day. Our makerspace, as I said, has been a work in progress, but is now up and running and organized. We're fortunate to have the Optimist Club, which is a local organization Mr. Rodriguez is a part of, and a number of retired teachers and Newark community members are part of this organization. And so we're in the 2nd year of them adopting us. And so Judy Takubo is one of the volunteers at our school who's with the Optimist Club, and she's had an opportunity to collect a lot of donations that she's donated for our school makerspace. The makerspace is a place where classes can come either individually or with their buddy classrooms to do different STEAM activities. It's also a resource for teachers to be able to pull some of the supplies from that room if they're doing activities in their classroom. And we have an amazing staff. We're lucky to have a number of very energetic teachers and employees at our school. I appreciate those staff members who are here tonight, and I also want to acknowledge the families that came out tonight and thank them for coming.
Yes, Member
Thank
Rodriguez.
you. I know the learning curve when we asked you to, become the principal at Snow Elementary, from being a teacher and all the other things, you've done. And I appreciate the way you got the staff together, and it's very supportive, and it's definitely a fun place to be, and it's obvious that the school is moving in the right direction, and it's really appreciated. And Member Jean is also a member of Optimus, and we're happy to support Snow Elementary for I think it's 2nd year or 3rd year.
I think we're in the 2nd of 3 years.
Right.
Yes.
Anyway, thank you for excellent presentation.
you.
Oh, and in the back, all your excellent artwork back there.
Thank you. Yes.
Thank you.
Our students have been working hard.
Yes, go ahead. Thanks.
Just wanted to say thank you for participating and being a Sunday. I think it's great that we have that kind of interactive activities from in our schools, and I know the students love it. So thank you. And I also wanted to say, just looking at the pictures, how great it is that we have so much alumni come back to Newark. And looking at the pictures down there in the corner, I recognize some of the Newark alumni. So this is great.
Yes.
No, thank you on behalf of all of us. Just looking at everyone's smiles, not only in the pictures but here, you could really tell that it's an amazing culture. And thank you for everything that you and your staff do for our kids. Thank you so much.
I don't know what you do, but my grandkids have never been this well behaved. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you
you.
so much.
Oh, can you ask her to introduce her staff or have them?
Sorry, yes, can you please tell us who's here from your team? Yeah. I'm sorry about that. I should have asked.
Let's see, so we have our fourth grade teacher, Maggie Balon. Our first grade teacher, Brandy Wex. Our kindergarten teacher, Brianna Pinamaki. We have a number of our PTA parents here today. And as well as a number of other parents who are also often very involved in our school. Can I have all the parents stand up from Snow? Thank you. ELAC, our ELAC parents are here as well.
Thank you so much.
And one of your teachers went to Snow Elementary, and now
Yes,
she's
Brianna
teaching there.
Pinamaki went there since kindergarten. She's teaching in the room she
Two
went to
of
kindergarten
them.
in.
Oh, okay.
Oh, that's right, Maggie too. That's right. Yes. That's right. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And with that, we move to item 8, public comment on non-agenda items. Mr. Paul Bretz. And you may just want to give it a minute so they can have a chance to step out. Thank you. Okay, whenever you're ready.
Thank you for providing me the opportunity to speak to you today about ethical practices. In October, you met a colleague and good friend, Tim Mulholland. He was a dynamic speaker that spoke to you in both Spanish and English. His message to you presented the differences between hearing and listening. Later, after he and I had the opportunity to discuss the evening, he asked me why I keep putting my head into the blender. I assume most people, including yourselves, are asking the same question, especially now. I'm hopeful by the end of the evening that I'll be able to share my answer. On November 14th, shortly after the board convened to close sessions to discuss extending the contract of Superintendent Sanchez, Mr. Sanchez, Ms. Saavedra, and the board were served notice that you are being sued. A week later, the board reported to the community that Mr. Sanchez submitted his letter of resignation and you accepted it. It was the first time since my decision to expose the district's actions that I finally felt that the board listened to what was really going on with the district's operations. As I watched the live YouTube feed, I was intrigued by both the board's courage to act and the audience's reaction to the announcement and their appreciation of your actions. Unfortunately, concerns remain for students, teachers, and the community. Your indecisiveness about making needed changes has to be brought to light once again. How does the board continue to support Ms. Jessica Saavedra as Director of Human Resources, given that she has lost all credibility of the Newark community? She presented the argument for my removal as principal by using more than 30 negative adjectives to describe the lack of morality, character, and leadership. My 10-page statement refuting the charges and no witness statements from anyone involved. The documentation that I have provided the district and anyone else desiring to review includes statements from Ms. Saavedra falsely accusing me of being on school grounds the day after I appeared at the board meeting, 2 weeks after the district had dropped all charges against me. In September of that year, Ms. Saavedra made false statements to the California Teaching Commission Ethics Committee when she omitted names of witnesses and all witness statements despite being asked by the committee to provide them. The omissions and lack of evidence was all that was needed for the committee to drop their investigations and recommend no action be taken against my credential. What does it say about you, the board, when a person who has lost the community's credibility is allowed should I say, provided the responsibility to lead and to negotiate the contracts of all the Newark community. I really hope that you listen to that. How can somebody who's lost the credibility be provided that opportunity? Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, Ms. Cindy Parks.
Good evening. I'm once again at the board meeting after I placed it on January 22nd, a request for an item to be put on the agenda regarding the guest teachers. My understanding was at the last meeting that I would be able to see it on the agenda for this one, and it's not on here again. To bring to your remembrance, there was an item in the LCAP that was to increase the guest teachers to $180 per day, and what is now being paid is $165, and I'm requested that an item be put on the agenda so that I could bring this item forward. The other item that I would like to address is a Title III expenditure. On the 4th of this month and the 11th, I had a conversation on the 4th, and on the 11th, I followed it up with an email with concerns about $5,000 worth of Title III expenditures that are actually, I believe, are not correctly accounted to the right, going to the right account. And I have not received any response to that. The other issue that I brought to your attention the last time too was your dual immersion program. There are so many things, the 3 minutes will not allot me the time to be able to express all of my concerns, but I think I can do it by visual. This is printed off of your website. This is your dual immersion. This is the plan from Fremont. This is the plan from New Haven. I think it speaks for itself. You don't have a plan. You don't even have teachers. According to your seniority list, which you're going to be approving later on today, Ms. Saavedra and Ms. Salinas are the only people in this district that are full-time that have their BCLAD in Spanish. You have a program out there that you're selling to the community, that you're getting students to sign up for, that you don't even have the teachers to teach it. And that is just the beginning of the iceberg of all the things that I feel it's lacking, my concerns. I'm going to just spend the last 45 seconds because I didn't really have an opportunity during public comment and non-agenda or during the study session to talk about some of the LCAP stuff because I didn't know what you were doing. But you're taking huge chunks of LCAP money, and now you're taking it, was supposed to be paid out of general fund, and you're shifting items to the LCAP. Do you need to go back and reapprove a plan? You're shifting money and you're shifting action items. Do you have to reapprove your plan? That would be my question. You negotiated with your teachers. You know what? They have Me Too clauses. When you have the money, are you looking, your contract employees, some of them have Me Too, and it's kind of an issue that CSEA automatically gets it too, and so does NUMA. So, once you're doing this, are you looking all the way down the road? How
Can
many
you please
people is it
wrap up
impacting?
your last statement?
And that's in the furlough days. You got items and then you have to negotiate. Nobody said anything had to be negotiated.
Thank you, Ms. Parks. Is that the last one? Okay. Okay, and with that, actually, would you like to comment? I know specifically Ms. Parks had brought up the issue around the guest teacher. Yes, if you can comment on that.
Yes, we did have a request from Ms. Parks as a member of the community to add something placed on the agenda, which is allowable. What we looked at is we had the intention of trying to place it as soon as we could, but as you saw from this earlier this afternoon, we had a lot of other pressing issues. So we are anticipating to bring it in March to the board to look at, and we will take care of it as we can discuss it in agenda setting. So I I wanted to be sure that the board and the community, Ms. Parks is aware, that it is coming. We just, with our negotiations and the work that we had to do, we had to prioritize that. And then I'm happy to comment on the others, or?
Oh, yes, please.
Okay. So, yes, so we had a request to the business department about a question about the Title III funding. And as we looked at the Title III funding, there is some professional development that was charged to there. We are still in the process of trying to look at one specific conference. While the umbrella of the conference is California Association of Bilingual Education, within that is English language development, which is an allowable expense. We are now looking more into the start of a dual immersion and whether or not that was an allowable expense. So I'm happy to respond to Ms. Parks in writing, and also share that with the board to really kind of outline our next steps. And then in terms of some of our work with our dual language immersion, I'm glad that we've had a lot of community outreach and a lot of information sessions. We have a guiding document that is the English Learner Master Plan. The board just approved adoption of and updating. Within that is the work that we do with our teachers and in collaboration. It would be very easy for us as an administrator to impose that work onto our teachers, but what we're doing instead is actually working with them to have the written plan. It will come to the board as we do an update with an updated section of the EL Master Plan. And so those of you that know me, and to not take more time, that is certainly my background as I've begun many programs in surrounding districts and supervised Russian and Mandarin and Cantonese and Spanish DLI programs, but I'm happy to bring an update to the board, and we can talk about that at agenda review as well. Okay. Thank you.
Towards the end of the meeting, we could talk about upcoming meetings and when to get that on the docket. I think that'll be important. Thank you, Ms. Salinas. And with that, we move to superintendent report.
So as this is coming forward, I want to mention something that's not on the slide, and that is a cordial invitation to our community and certainly to our board that tomorrow at Newark Memorial High School, we have our Special Olympics. And so the Special Olympics will start at 9 a.m. through 1 p.m. And having seen it last year, I think this is one of the events that if you want to have a good weekend, go attend Special Olympics tomorrow, because you see the Newark Memorial High School students and the staff really support this work. And as we are the hosting school for our SELPA, we get to see James Logan High School students, and we get to see all the Fremont High School students that participate. So it's a great event. So tomorrow, starting at 9. So I want to first start with our city partnerships, and it's a huge thank you to the city of Newark. This evening, we have the second year of our safety plans, and this is a new requirement that came into play last year. Our principals, working with the school side teams and with our Newark Police Department, have really beefed up a great plan for safety. And I know as one of the standing topics that we will explore at City Liaison meeting, we know that it is something that we need to get really more on track with. And in fact, we've had community members ask about earthquake supplies, and to date, we've really relied on parents and community, but really that is something that we're hoping to bring back to the City Liaison meeting to how to expand the preparation in case of an earthquake. But here's a couple of photos of our Sergeant Sandoval and our Lieutenant Macias. Science. So Family Science Night. A huge shout out to our teachers, our SRTs, Ms. Rebasura, and our principals. We have a great collaboration with East Bay Regional Parks, with the Water District, and with our the Fish and Wildlife Service, where Family Science Nights, and I'm actually, and Mr. Castillo, so I know the Rocketry Club is attending and actually hosting a station out of all of our Family Science Nights, so please be on the lookout for that. It's coming to your school soon, and we've had, I think, Kennedy's next, or did we already have it?
Graham was last Wednesday.
Yeah.
I think Kennedy's this coming Thursday.
Okay, great. And just check your local school's calendar for that. Next, I want to highlight, if you were watching or participating in our earlier discussion where we talk about STEAM and we spoke about a broad course curriculum, what our schools have done is with funding through the LCAP, we have looked at how we've had an increase in field trips and access to art. Although we know that reading and writing is important, we also know that the visual and performing arts is really an avenue for a lot of our students to access curriculum and really build their exposure to it. So wanted to highlight a couple of pictures of that, and there's another picture of our partnerships. College and career readiness, we recently hosted the 8th grade parent information night at the high school, but I also want to highlight the other piece of it, and that's the college and career. When we look at colleges, the high school has hosted, and our career center have hosted financial aid workshops and how to apply for college. But the other piece we don't hear a lot about is career pathways. And so at our Bridgepoint campus, we actually had the Local 342 to do a presentation to our students as we look at careers that are out there for our students. Because as we know, we want our kids to graduate with choice. And we want them to be able to make that decision as they leave our school district. Fun Education Now, thank you to NTA, thank you to CSEA, thank you to NUMA and our board. As you know, the past board meeting, we had a resolution about the funding that we have in the state of California and how we're not the top. We want the top for our kids, but it takes work like this. So we were at the farmer's market at one of the windiest days of the year, right, Ms. Tomasini? It was freezing. But I will say that it makes a big difference when you have teachers gathering signatures. And so thank you to our teachers and our classified staff and all the folks that attended as we try to work to fulfill this resolution, right? And finally, a special shout out to Ohlone College. They are continuing with their work of Ohlone Promise. And this is a great opportunity, again, for choices for our kids, where we look at this 2-year full ride scholarship. Applications are open. We are going to post it on our website if we haven't already. It might already, nope, almost. Okay, we will post it on our website. We have push this out to all of our counselors and our secondary principals because we need to get the word out that our students have an opportunity here that they can't miss. Okay, and that's it. So thank you very much, and then we'll send it over back to you.
Thank you. Thank you.
You talked 2 weeks ago about, briefly, I'd like to introduce our newly elected student board member, Wahab Salami.
Sorry. Good evening, everyone. My name is Wahab Salimi, a sophomore at Newark Memorial High School. I've been elected as next year's student board member. A little bit about me. I've been involved in leadership since elementary school. For the past 2 years, I've been the class of 2022 president, which has allowed me to take part in many school events such as skit, fundraising, planning rallies, spirit weeks, among other things. Being in leadership has allowed me to learn about student government and the different roles and their responsibilities. Specifically, what gravitated me towards this position is the opportunity to bring an alternative perspective to the table. I'm aware of what it's like to be an everyday student at Newark Memorial. In the past, I have met with student board members and the previous superintendent to speak about the different needs of students. I have lived in Newark all my life, so I know the different strengths and weaknesses of my community. With this role, I hope to highlight and strengthen the diversity of our school district. I want to better connect the student body with the administration. I believe that it's important the community is aware of the different events that occur at the Newark School District. I think it's important that with this role, I can do my best to appreciate our teachers and staff members. I look forward to being a voice to the students and emphasizing the desires of my peers. Thank you for your time, and I look forward to the next school year. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much and welcome. Welcome to, we look forward to having you join us up here at the dais. It's a commitment and thank you for putting yourself out there and specifically, I like what you talked about, which is, you really want to bring that perspective. We know we need to do a better job at listening more frequently. So we really thank you for joining this effort. Thank you so much. Okay, with that, we move to employee organizations, NTA. Anybody? CSCA?
Good evening, Board. My name is Sue Eustace, and I'm President of California School Employees Association, Newark Local 208. As you can see, I'm wearing a relatively new shirt, and it indicates we want people to know who we are, because we almost are invisible most of the time doing our jobs. So we're CSCA, and what we're displaying with our shirt is we are part of the puzzle. And that's going to take us, along with all the other people that work in the district, working together to solve the problems that Newark has. And you can see on the back that I'm very proud that I have Newark Unified School District on the back as well. So all of our employees have been given a shirt this year. We gave it to them early for CSCAW week, which is recognizing classified employees. So I wanted you to see this because we do important work, and we don't always, I don't think that a lot of the community knows what we do and how an intricate part that we are of Newark Unified School District. So you'll be seeing a lot of these blue shirts. We're wearing them on Thursday on days of negotiations. And so you'll be seeing these shirts. They're going to be eventually pretty worn because we're going to be wearing them a lot. I believe that the last 2 weeks ago, I indicated that our executive board is receiving training from CSCA on February 29th, and we will be going to headquarters for that training. And then on March 16th, we're having our chapter meeting, but we're going to have an ice cream social before, because not a lot of times do we get together and just absolutely just enjoy each other and talk. So we're going to be doing that. The other thing I just wanted to mention on page 11 of the workshop paper, it indicates that new job descriptions to the board for approval. I didn't take it as if it was classified job descriptions you were talking about. I took it as NUMA and management positions that you're going to reorganize. But if you're talking about us, you must come to us for negotiations before you can bring it to the board. So I just wanted to remind you of that. I think you probably already knew. So thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Eustace. Is anybody here from NUMA? Okay. Seeing none, we move to new business. No speaker cards there. So the first item is a proposed action to approve the contract with McPherson and Jacobson, which is the firm that would be assisting the board in the superintendent search. Can I get a motion and a second, please?
I'll make the motion.
Member Gutierrez moves. Member Nguyen seconds. And Student Board Member Castillo.
I vote no on this item.
So, sorry, I was just going to open for discussion at first. So, yeah, sorry. But
I had a chance to see all of you on TV at the last board meeting. And I just wanted to say that thank you for the whole process in having leadership and associates at McPherson. And I feel that either one of them would be fine. And I just think that this is a good choice, and I'll be voting yes on this.
okay, thank you. Student Member Castillo, would you like to add to the discussion, or we're just going to wait to your vote?
Frankly, I'm of the opinion that the acting superintendent that we have now is well qualified for the role. I believe that considering the district's financial obligations and our current status, it would be unwise to spend $20,000 on consulting for the superintendent search. We have somebody who's qualified to do the job for the time being. So frankly, I don't see it reasonable. I think if we were in a better financial situation, then maybe it would be worth it. But for the time being, I don't see a point to it.
Thank you. Anybody else would like to comment or questions before we bring it to a vote? So with that, just to repeat the motion, Ms. Aquino?
Motion to approve the contract by Member Gutierrez, seconded by Member Nguyen.
So with that, Student Member Castillo, your vote is?
I vote no on this item.
Okay, thank you. I will open voting. Please vote. The vote passes with 5 ayes. Thank you. Okay, the next item is 11.2, Board Policy 4116, Certificated Personnel Probationary Permanent Status, first reading. The recommended action here is for the board to approve as presented, or if there are any edits, if we would like to request to bring this back. Let me first ask for a motion and a second. I apologize, I'm still trying to get the rhythm here. So could I have a motion and a second before discussion on this item?
Okay. I move.
Member Gutierrez moves.
I'll second for discussion.
Member Rodriguez seconds for discussion. Board Member Gutierrez.
I just wanted to say in regards to this board policy, that in regards to content, I don't have any changes. However, there are some grammatical edits that I would want to make. And if the rest of the board wanted to proceed without going to a second reading, then I can just submit some of these grammatical corrections to staff.
My sense is that whatever we approve should be in its final form. So I would like, if there are some additional, some edits, I would request that staff bring it back for a second reading.
Second reading.
Okay?
Okay.
And then, just for clarification, do you want me to state
Withdraw.
those edits now, or do you still want me just to send them directly to staff?
How does that normally?
Yeah, so my recommendation is if it's truly grammatical, like commas and periods, then you can just send that to Ms. Saavedra. If there's content, I would say you share it for the good of the discussion.
Completely grammatical. So we'll do a
So,
second reading.
so we'll bring this
So I
back.
would say we will bring this back for a second reading with the grammatical edits.
Okay.
We do not need to vote on this item. Thank you for clarifying.
You
We'll
don't
table
need to,
this item.
Withdraw the motion in a second, right?
Okay, so,
Good.
thank you for that clarification. So,
I withdraw my motion.
I withdraw the second.
thank you. We will get this. You will train me. Next item is 11.3, also a board policy 4216, classified personnel. Can I get a motion and a second for discussion?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Member Rodriguez moves. Member Nguyen seconds. Comments? Ms. Gutierrez.
I would.
Board
be-
Member
Sorry,
Gutierrez.
thank you. I would be comfortable with this for first reading and approving this if the rest of the board is okay as well.
Any comments from anybody? Okay. So, Ms. Aquino, so can you please repeat the motion?
Yes, motion by Member Rodriguez, seconded by Member Nguyen.
Student Member Castillo?
I vote yes on this item.
Thank you. Okay, please vote to approve. So the motion passes with 5 ayes. Item 11.4, classified layoffs. Here, the staff recommends the board approve Resolution 2057 to reduce a classified position. Superintendent Salinas.
If there aren't any questions, we recommend approved as written. If there are questions, Ms. Saavedra is here to answer them.
Can I get a motion and a second, please?
I move.
I'll second.
Member Nguyen moves, Member Gutierrez seconds. And, sorry, Member Zhang.
Just want to ask, is this person is working 1 hour and a half every day?
No, this person does other types of work for the district as well. This particular position, the hour and a half, is due to lack of funds. He provided services for an extra program that we offer after school, and due to changes, the program is no longer going to be run.
Okay, so we're only eliminating that 1 hour and a half position, right?
That's correct.
So this person remains with the district, right?
That's correct.
Okay.
It's a point. Clear and close. Sorry about that. Any other comments or questions? If not, can you please repeat the motion on the table?
Sure, motion to approve as written by Member Nguyen, seconded by Member Gutierrez.
This is, Caesar does not vote on personnel. Okay, so please vote. Okay. Motion passes with 5 ayes. Next item is item 11.5, Board Policy 4218, Dismissal, Suspension, and Disciplinary Action, first reading. Can I get a motion and a second for discussion?
I move.
Second.
Member Gutierrez moves, Member Rodriguez seconds. Any questions or comments? Member Gutierrez.
I would be comfortable voting on this on the first reading if the rest of the board is as well.
I don't have any questions or comments. Anybody else on the board? And with that, we will, can you please repeat the motion?
Yes, motion to approve as written by Member Gutierrez, seconded by Member Rodriguez.
Student Member Castillo?
I vote yes on this item.
Can I have a point of order just for a second?
I'm sorry, yes.
When he votes, is it possible to put his vote on there, like it is ours, so we can show his vote?
So,
Screen, I mean.
Yeah, so with the, may I answer? With the educational with the new updates with the law, the student's trustee needs to vote first because he represents the voice of the student population, and then that may weigh into your decision. So we could not display this, and I don't think there's a functionality to display it as well. So that's why he does a verbal or a hand.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
and if you recall, that was part of the training that we all received back in December. So, okay, with that, let me open voting. Wait, did you right? Okay, yes. Please vote. Yes, he approved. Yeah, he voted yes. Okay. And with that, motion passes. 5 ayes, and student member Castillo voting aye as well. Okay, I got ahead of myself here, so I'm in 11.7. Oh, sorry, 6. Oh, sorry. So item 11.6, Administrative Regulation 4218, dismissal, suspension, and disciplinary action. Can I get a motion and a second for discussion, please?
I move.
I'll second.
Member Nguyen moves. Member Gutierrez seconds. Member Gutierrez.
Thank you. There's some language in here, specifically on page 12 of 14, that I feel requires additional discussion with our staff in regards to our process. Specifically, I will say that I will point to page 12 where on item number 3, where it says, any offense involving any unlawful sale, use, or exchange to minors of controlled substances as listed in the Health and Safety Code. However, when we look further down, it makes an exception for items related to marijuana, peyote, mescaline, and other cannabinoids. So before we make, I know that we as a board can get stricter on certain items, so before we vote on this, I would like to have a second reading so we can have more discussion on this, whether we'd have it now or in the future, whatever the correct process is.
Okay. So we will bring this back for a second reading. So can you please withdraw the motion? And the second?
I withdraw my second.
Thank you, Member Gutierrez and Member Nguyen. Okay, so moving to 11.7, we have the general obligation bond, Measure G priority list of projects. The recommended action is staff recommends the board approve the updated list of priority projects for Measure G bond / Fund 21. So before we start discussion, can I get a motion and a second, please?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second. Member Gutierrez moves. President Martinez seconds. And we do have a speaker card, Miss Cindy Parks.
First of all, I think that it's commendable that you went to the principals and asked for their involvement. They are the boots on the ground. They are the ones who know their campuses the best. I think that that's very intuitive to actually ask their opinions. That being said, you have a school consolidation group that you're forming. So is it in the best interest to be approving items for elementary sites that you might be closing? And if, based on what was said earlier tonight, you could have as many as 3. Is it in the best interest of this district to be approving a plan that you have in front of you tonight that is elementary sites that need things taken care of? At the last meeting, you had somebody from CFS here talking about the ballot and Measure G. Just because there's ballot language, that does not mean that it is aligned 100% with the education code. The education code says that the purpose of this money is to be used for all these items. And one of the things that it says is, other than may be necessary for current maintenance, operation, or repairs. No can do. It also says that anything that you purchase, you can do certain items of equipment and things like that, but the apparatuses need to be of a permanent nature. And I'll give you a copy of that. So there are many repairs and maintenance items listed on your sheet. Newark Memorial High School repair, that's the word that's used, $200,000. Really? You just replaced a lot of the roofs. You have faucets and toilets that say that they need to be repaired. Paving of asphalt at the junior high, according to Vanner's categorical program list in June of 17, it showed $500,000 for that. Landscape. Out of the Russian money, Birch Grove received new furniture, Chromebooks, and also in that list of district-wide purchases was also supposed to be $3.4 million for painting and curb appeal landscape. You already did the painting, but the curb appeal landscape hasn't been done. In the June of 17 report from Vanner, it also shows that there was still $2 million allocated for that. Why isn't there any progress in that report, or progress on that project? By the way, in that Vanner report, project list, let me just give you that. It spells a lot of the things out. There are generators that are listed, which are also in your report, $300,000. Why hasn't that been done? It was listed all the way back in 17, saying that it would need a DSA approval. Nothing's been done. I'm not sure why items have already been approved or on your list, like the card readers and the hardware replacement and the panic doors at the junior high. I can say that I am very pleased to see that you have a project manager listed on there. And finally, I'm still waiting for the part of the ATIS money to be reversed because it all can't come out at Measure G. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Parks. John? Okay.
Yes, so this evening, we're returning back to the board as per the direction. The board asked us to meet with all of our site leaders and to really look at the bond language with them. We convened a meeting with our principals, reviewed the bond language, and had them reaffirm or reprioritize at that meeting, and that's what we bring forward with you this evening. For Ms. Dela Cruz will be here to answer any questions, and know that within your prerogative, you're able to really look at this list, give us direction. It can be adapted, or you can approve it as a whole. That really will be up to your discussion. I do want to share that one of the things that did come forward from the principals was in terms of some of these priorities, they certainly noted that as we work through the process of the consolidation committee, we know that that is not going to be a 2-month process. It's a process that's going to start soon. So to have in the back of your mind, as they have as the leaders of the school, that, in terms of some of these things such as HVAC, we cannot wait a year if there are some rooms that truly need it. What the funding source is, I think we can certainly talk about here. So that would be one thing to frame the conversation. The other piece would be looking at the capacity of our schools. One of the things that we looked at, certainly, and Ms. Dela Cruz brought up in the earlier discussion, is that we have some rooms that are not necessarily classrooms, but we're using them for something else, because we do that, right? We want to spread out, and we want to make sure that we have more room for our work. So that might be something that we can charge, if you so approve, a project manager to really work closer with our principals. So I don't know if Ms. Dela Cruz wants to add anything else to that before you start your discussion.
We made an effort to provide some cost estimates and kind of built it around a budget. So really what this is an estimated budget of what these projects might cost. And knowing that the actual bids and that whole process still needs to be done, the actual costs will come back in terms of the contracts, and the budgets will be revised accordingly, and we'll keep you posted on that. And again, if there's certain areas here that you feel needs to be modified, reprioritized, there's still room for that.
Thank you. Member Zhang?
So if we approve this list, when you going to put a bid order on individual project, would that come back to board as an individual item to vote on?
Yes.
Okay.
The contracts will come back to board.
Okay, and I just hope every time when we vote on individual project, this file can be attached as the background information on the whatever the item we're gonna be voting on. And,
yes, we can certainly do that.
Okay. So speaking of the funding source on the second item, I mean the other projects, the 2.2 million, other than this, because 7.8 million, that is what's left over in the Measure G. And for the 2.28 million, is there any plan to, what will be the funding source for that one?
At this point, we haven't determined the exact funding source. We do know that we have funds available in the Fund 40, which is the capital facilities reserves, as well as developer fees. And we're also looking at the possibility of getting another bond or parcel tax. So at this point,
What about Fund 17? Can Fund 17 be used on these things?
that's special reserves for non-capital outlay. So
Okay, I
no,
see.
yeah.
Is Fund 17 is Russian money, right? Oh,
Fund 17 is not Russian money.
Oh,
It's
that
Fund
was,
40.
oh, that was actually when we used, like, a couple years ago, the previous board poured 4 million from Russian money to Fund 17, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah,
that's the
why,
part I
yeah.
got. Okay.
There's some money in there from the Russian sale.
One last thing I want to ask is, last time I asked about, given the bond language we talk about, any full-time employee that work on the project can be reimbursed from the Measure G, can be reimbursed to general fund from the Measure G money. Did we spend any time going back to look at the past 7 or 8 years, whether we have any overtime or regular time employee that work on that project?
As far as we know, all of the charges that were allowed to be charged to bond in terms of personnel have been done. And really, if we were to go back, we can only go back to this year. The books are closed.
Okay, I see.
Student Member Castillo.
Thank you. So I echo Ms. Park's concerns about making commitments to repair projects that might not be completed because of the decision of the School Consolidation Committee. So I want to clarify, from my understanding, that this is not binding on us in any way, and that if the School Consolidation Committee makes a decision, obviously those repairs won't be carried out because then the site will be closed, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
So that was going to be my question as well, or maybe more of a comment. And I'd shared that with Superintendent Salinas prior to the meeting. We know that we are embarking on, making some structural decisions, right? Or some decisions that will change our structural composition. So I think that this does gives us a perspective, because we wanted to hear the voice of our principals, and so I think I'm comfortable with the buckets, knowing that you will be bringing back for individual approval. I would like to suggest that, and I'm not sure how we would do this from a motion, that we do prioritize a couple of things. One is the project management position that we've talked about in the last meeting as well. Because as we start to formulate the actual, I suppose, more specific projects with specific bids, we're going to need someone that's leading that effort. So that would be an ask, or my ask, and we could all, weigh in, that we do prioritize that. And then, really think through how do we think about prioritizing some of the asks for the secondary schools, if that's what makes sense and that's what's deemed the right decision from a project management perspective. Just given that we will be in process of the consolidation effort. Okay, thank you. Member Gutierrez.
Thank you. I just wanted to second your request, because I think it is important that we are responsible in regards to how we use these funds and how we go out and bid. I think that's very important. So I just want to echo Member Martinez's request that we put some urgency in our project manager and make sure that we are committing to these projects responsibly. Thank you.
Student Member Castillo.
I'm good, thank you. I thought I had something, but I'm good. Sorry.
No worries, thank you. Member Nguyen?
And lastly, I just wanted to make sure that we do stay within the Measure G bond language and make sure that any forthcoming projects are not, in terms of repair or continued maintenance.
Thank you. Member Rodriguez?
I realize that in the next few months, we're going to be talking about consolidating 2 schools, as far as with the presentation that we had. If there are projects that are going to affect the children that are in the schools now, that it's going to make it more comfortable for them and easier for them to learn, then we shouldn't shy away from those, just because it might be a school that might be closed. I know that we shouldn't spend a lot of money on them as far as, going, but there's stuff that we can do, for instance, to make sure that our kids are in classrooms that are, that have air conditioning and, because it wouldn't be fair for them not to, and other kids too. It wouldn't be fair, in my
Of
opinion.
course, and I think that's why it's so important that you do have a project manager on board, because, of course, any safety-related issues, of course, we would have to prioritize those. But so, yeah, I think the discussion definitely does not imply that that's what we would do.
Thank you.
Member Gutierrez.
Just 2 points, and if I could address Member Rodriguez, because I did have some of those concerns, and I did ask Ms. Salinas about it, and I think she understood the urgency of situations like that, and if they're in a classroom that doesn't work, and so that they were going to try to find the best measures. And I'm not putting words in our mouth, but just to try to summarize, so we're going to try to find the best way in order to mitigate such situations. And I just wanted to clarify an item of discussion that has been going around, that we do not, as part of the consolidation committee, we do not have a number in mind as to how many schools we will be closing, if any. That is the purpose of our consolidation committee, is to have this discussion with them and hear the feedback from the community as to what they think is best. So, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Did you want to comment? Okay. So I'm not sure, just given the direction as far as the prioritization, would we require an amended motion here? Okay.
I think that'd be best. That way we can really hear, because I heard about the project manager prioritizing secondary schools, staying within the Measure G funds.
Okay. So can you remind me who made the motion?
So I was going to state, you had a motion to approve the updated list of Measure G with the caveat of prioritization of the project manager position, prioritizing the secondary site list, staying within the bond language and not continued maintenance. Motion was made by Member Gutierrez with a second by President Martinez.
Okay. So with that, Member Castillo, Student Member Castillo.
Oh, just want to make sure I understand the motion. Is that
sorry.
we give the direction, they will bring it back, right?
No.
Because you gave a,
So it's,
yes,
Ms.
because I
Aquino,
want.
can,
What does that mean by giving
Okay,
priority to secondary side?
Okay, I want to first take back my motion since it has been changed, so I'll take back my motion.
and I guess I'll take back my second.
And-
So,
If she can repeat.
yes, please repeat yes.
Motion to approve the updated list of Measure G by Member Gutierrez with a second by President Martinez was the original motion.
Yes. So in this case, we need a new motion with the verbiage that Ms. Aquino mentioned earlier. So can you please repeat it again?
Sure. Motion to approve the updated list of Measure G with prioritizing the project manager position, prioritization of the secondary site lists, and staying within the bond language and not continued maintenance.
I make a motion?
Oh, can I make a comment? Or it's closed for comment already? Wait, because you amended the motion, so that's open. Sure.
So she just made the motion. Do we have a second?
I second.
Okay. Member Nguyen seconds. Board Member Zhang.
Oh, so by listening to the motion, I felt like because we give new priorities, right? I would prefer to see a amended list coming back, because by voting on this, I don't really know how the money is really shifting around. So yeah, we're just going to voting on yeah, I will prefer we bring it back so we reflect the list reflect the changes requested by the board member. Because I understand the priority we set, but I still want to see the numbers. I mean the rough idea about numbers.
I'd like to move
Member
forward
Gutierrez.
with this because making an amendment list like this is only going to delay the projects. And ultimately, I think what we heard from staff is they're going to bring back individual projects to get approved by us. So I don't see the need to extend this 2 weeks later.
I'm sorry.
Oh, sorry, go ahead. And we can always reprioritize the list after the fact, correct? Thank you.
Right, and I think just to clarify, Member Zhang, I think it's not in a revised list. I mean, it's still the same items. I think that the key is that we, first and foremost, getting a project manager on board. The thought is, if there are some things that, for the secondary schools that have been asked, and it's justified, and we should move forward because we know there's a time. It doesn't mean that we won't, to Member Rodriguez's point, doesn't mean that if there's some things that need to be taken care of for elementary, that those wouldn't be taken care of. Regardless, the staff would be bringing back each individual item. Right now, the assumption is that the actual line items wouldn't change. So with that clarification, and the motion and the second to, one more time, Ms. Aquino, if you can, please, so we could call for a vote. Yeah.
Motion to approve the updated list of Measure G projects with prioritization of the project manager position, prioritization of the secondary site list, and staying within the bond language and not continued maintenance. I'm sorry, made by Member Gutierrez, seconded by Member Nguyen.
Student Member Castillo.
I vote yes on this item.
Thank you. Please vote. Okay. Motion carries with 4 ayes and 1 no. Thank you. Get myself. So 12.1, so first moving into consent agenda, personnel items. Do I have a motion and a second to approve consent agenda items?
If, I recommend we pull item 12.1 and due to a speaker, and we can vote on items 12.2 and 12.3.
Okay. Thank you. Can I get a second to pull item 12.1 and approve 12.2 and 12.3?
I made.
Member Gutierrez moves. Member Nguyen seconds. So we will vote on items 12.2 and 12.3 first. Okay, please vote. Okay, motion passes with 5 ayes. So item 12.1, we do have a speaker card, the seniority list, Ms. Cindy Parks. Okay. 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 Can I get a motion and a second to approve item 12.1?
I'll second it.
Okay, Member Rodriguez moves. Member Gutierrez seconds. Please vote. Oh, sorry. Oh, I'm sorry. I skipped right over you. Apologize, Member Nguyen.
I just asked for a possible change on the list item for next time, that on the top item, on the column list, that you separate the EL and the CLAD and the B CLAD, because right now it looks like everybody is qualified. So, and that way we can better take a look at who is actually certified in those areas, along with the fact that you do have it indicated in the credential authorization area. But it's just nice to be able to look down the list and know exactly what our teachers are certified for. Thank you.
Thank you. And with that, please vote. Sorry, I thought I did that. Please vote. Motion passes with 5 ayes. Give me a second to get organized here. Okay, next item is the consent agenda for non-personnel items, and we do have a speaker card. So, yes. So before we take the speaker card, can I have a motion and a second, please, on consent agenda items?
I move that we approved item, consent item, agenda non-personnel item 13.1.
I'll second it.
Okay, and we do have a speaker card. Ms. Cindy Parks?
Hi, I don't know if this is the template that is utilized, because a lot of the information seemed to be, because I didn't get a chance to look at it until today, so it seemed to carry through for the most part. But when you get to the section that, of the education code that's quoted in each safety plan, that explains the safety plans, those sections are outdated education codes. So they've been updated in January of 19, most of them, and one of them was in January of this year. And all of those ed code sections are the old ones. Some of them all the way back to 2004. And then I did notice that the high school did not have its signature page. And it seemed that a lot of their information was not current. Everybody else, it seemed to put in current information, but theirs seemed to be from 18 and 19. Just a little thought there. And again, I don't know if it's a template, and the template needs to be updated or what.
Superintendent Staley, can you comment, please?
Yes, so it is a template, but but I appreciate the note, and we can look into that. If you would like to make the motion to accept it, ensuring that we update with the updated ed codes, we can have, work with the principals to ensure that that page is submitted. Thank you.
What is the timing and the urgency on this? Can we, March 1st?
And what I can add is, we can be sure to, because this is a public document, so after we make, if the board votes with that amendment, we can go ahead and ensure that all the sites have the replacement pages in there. These are for public view, so these actually will be in every school office, and we actually have a set in the superintendent's office. We can certainly make some kind of a public gesture on our webpage saying that they have been updated with the newest ed codes. Be happy to do that, just because we are so tied to that March 1st deadline.
Okay. So with that, we will have to amend the motion. So the motion would need to be so here, you're recommending that we approve as is, as presented. So the amendment would be that you would replace the page with the newest templates and actually make a communication on our website.
We can be happy to do it on the front page of the website, and then, so if if someone would like to make a friendly amendment to the current motion on the floor, you can proceed.
Okay.
I will rescind my motion.
And my second?
Okay. So can I have a new motion, please?
Want to state it?
Yeah, go for it.
Please repeat it.
Yes, so the motion would be to accept the comprehensive safety plans with the amended an updated educational code that are updated and to ensure that there is communication on our front page website, alerting with this updated plan for each school.
Okay, I move to approve.
And I'll
The amended,
The amended motion,
the
okay.
amended motion.
And I'll second it.
Member Nguyen moves. Member Gutierrez seconds. Student Member Castillo, how do you vote?
I vote yes on this item.
Thank you.
Am I going to be allowed the opportunity to speak on this item?
Actually, no. Their speaker cards are expected upon arrival or before the meeting starts. So I appreciate you asking. Thank you.
Since this is addressing school safety, you might want to hear what I need to say. I do have some experience in this.
Please feel free to reach out to Superintendent Salinas.
Well,
Okay,
I would
thank you.
suggest then that
Open
you
vo-
redact
open
the
vo- open
movements
voting.
of the students.
Voting is open. Please vote.
The movement of students during an emergency evacuation is
Mr. Bretz,
clearly
if I can
visible.
remind you that at this point, this is a meeting of the board. Thank you.
It's also
Thank-
about student safety.
Thank you.
You
The
have
motion
public-
passes with 5 ayes. Thank you very much.
You have information that's pertinent to student safety that is clearly visible.
We'll be
The
glad to,
students-
we'll be glad to discuss with you after the meeting. Please respect the order of the meeting. Thank you very
I think
much.
you need to respect student safety.
Okay, and with
You've got
that, we
students
move
and
on
staff
to
that are
item,
Thank you very much.
and with that, we move on to item 14, student expulsions.
It's not a really good idea to give bad guys how people are going to move.
Sir, I'm happy to meet with you, but please, we need to respect the order.
I appreciate the order, thank you.
So item 14, student expulsions.
I'd like to make the motion to approve 14.1 staff recommendation.
Can I get a second, please?
I'll second it.
Member Rodriguez moves, Member Gutierrez seconds. Please vote. Sorry about that. Okay, voting is open. Okay, motion passes with 4 ayes, 1 no vote. Okay, so moving to item 15, future meetings, Superintendent Salinas.
Yes, thank you. For future meetings, I see returning our board policies and also bringing back the community member request for substitute rate. We will also be at our future meeting speaking about some of the budget alignments that we discussed at our study session.
Thank you. Item 16. I'm sorry. Member Zhang.
So I want to follow up last time when I talked about the registration process from an individual parent. So this time I actually got a whole picture about the anecdotal experience of a certain parent trying to register her child last year. So like I said, first you go onto the website, and the website can go 3 or 4 times without going through. And then the 5th time she clicked on that, it went through. Apparently, probably didn't display the address of the district office. So our parents will probably send the paper going to the district office, pulling up the Google Map, the Google Map phone. The Google Map will have 2 addresses, apparently, if you search Newark Unified District. One led to a pretty wrong address, middle of nowhere Newark. It's like a concrete factory. So she went there and she dropped off, and a concrete factory worker came out and said, "Are you looking for school district?" She said, "How do you know?" I said, "A dozen parents show up at this place this year." So she went to the district office, waited for 20 minutes, nobody answered her, and then finally somebody like received her and gave her a form. This is a vaccination and the birth certificate. You need to prove that your child was whatever the identity of your child and the vaccination. So she went to the hospital, did all the necessary vaccination with the doctor, came back to the district office, and then the district worker gave her a second form, saying you need to do a TB stuff because that's unique to Newark school district. And
Point of order. I'm sorry. So yes, point of order. So is there a request to staff?
for the, I want to have a sort of a study session on how the registration process, or how we can improve the registration process.
Is that part of, if I may, is that part of 16.1? Is that where we're at?
Yeah.
No, that's 15.1. The
For
upcoming.
Upcoming future?
Yeah.
Proposed study session.
So
The proposed
just
study
as a point of order, I believe as a request from the board, those come from us in 16.1. And right now, this is just Ms. Salinas reporting what is currently on the docket. Is that correct?
But on this one, I said to have the board and staff discuss upcoming meeting and the study session topics. That's what 15.1 said.
Oh, okay, that's fine. But I think in the context of, I think it's okay for commentary, but if the request is for a study session, then we can.
Ideally before the registration starts for the new year. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
So, and I'm happy we can talk after this. I want to know more about the detail of what happened, but registration already started, but we can certainly add to the list to look at a proposed study session.
And from an urgency list, if you'd be okay, I think once you discuss, maybe it's a staff report, if the idea is to get an update, because I just, from a study session perspective, we don't want to delay this if this situation is happening.
I guess it depends on when staff think is the time where absolutely critical to make, when staff decides the time where we have most parents registering.
Right. And so, and I think, and I know I'm getting into the next item, but essentially I think it would be quicker to bring it back as a staff report than a study session, because the time is now, so the window just opened for registration.
Student Member Castillo.
I had a comment to make about what Member Zhang said, but I'll address it in the next item.
Okay. Thank you. All right, so with that, it's item 16, Board of Education Committee reports, announcements, request, debrief, and discussion. Student Member Castillo.
Okay, so I did check what Member Zhang was saying about Google Maps giving incorrect information, and yeah, it does show that it does give one possible address as on the property of Cargill Salt. So I think it is a little bit misleading, so I would ask, I don't know who the correct staff member is to fix that, and from anecdotes I've heard about Google having accuracy of the information, I don't know if it'll be corrected in due time, but I ask that, if a staff member would be able to look into that just for prudence sake, I think that would be good.
If I can add, I know it's out of turn, but if I can add to that, when it comes to situations like that and it is in Google, it is the community or anybody that can actually go in there and edit that. So I know it's not the job of our staff to go into Google daily. That's why we do have our website. It would be prudent to check up on that. However, just again, anybody can go in there and change that. Not that we want to emphasize that, but I can tell you that if you go into any business, you edit it, you change the number, and you can put our numbers to it if it need be. So I think it's important that we follow it up on that, but it's not the district's, I just want to emphasize that it's not the district's fault. Anybody in the community out there can just go in there and change it on their own.
And I think what we can do is certainly reach out to that address, and I'll check in with you and go visit. Or we can call them and let them know and just kind of connect. Because if they're historically seeing a group of parents come, that's not okay. And so we can connect with them as well.
Thank you.
Okay. My next request would be to, it's my understanding that all the site safety plans will be updated with new ed code. I would ask that the copies with the new pages are available for inspection at the next regular board meeting, which I believe is March 5th. I would just ask that they're here so that community members have the opportunity to inspect them with the correct information. Update on the rocketry hoodies, you guys have been asking me. So our ASB accountant, Ms. Destuit, has she emailed me and said that she'd been having trouble with the accounting software that the office uses. As a result, we're not able to check what our club balance is, but we hope that the issue is resolved in due time. Afterwards, we'll be placing the order for the hoodies, and you guys should get them soon. Finally, we'll be launching this Saturday. Again, we had good progress last Saturday, so we're hoping to be out there. It'll be 8 a.m. as always, behind Ohlone Newark campus.
Can you repeat the date?
This Saturday.
Okay, thank you.
Not for me, no.
Okay,
Thank
thank
you.
you very much. Member Rodriguez.
Thank you. Can you hear me? Good. First, I want to do just a couple of reports. One is the SELPA, as Acting Superintendent Salinas said, tomorrow it's the Special Olympics, and it's been going on now for about 5 years, and we host the basketball, and then it goes to American for soccer, and then finally to Logan for track and field. So it's going to be a fun event, and if you can find a way to get there, I appreciate it. You'll have a good time. On the Mission Valley RP, they just passed their budget, and that partnership is continuing to be a very positive one for us. And we appreciate the fact that they're trying to add more venues, whether at the high school or at Bridgepoint. I had an ask. I'd like to have the committee that we're going to have for the school closures if we can discuss it on the agenda as far as what we're asking them to do. Is my understanding, based on Ms. Dela Cruz submitting to the county, that we're going to, as part of our budget, that we're going to close 2 schools, not this year, but in the year. It's important for us to let the committee know. It was my understanding that the committee was going to be looking at all the schools and making a recommendation on which 2. But if we're asking them to possibly look at, closing a 3rd school, then that's something that we probably need to talk about, because we already gave them direction. I just want to be clear on what the committee is going to be doing. If you don't have to have it on the agenda, if I can just get a report on the actual committee and what they're going to be doing. The other thing I had is, normally our tradition has been when a new student board member is elected, that our current student board member can bring that person in as a transition, just so that they get an idea of how school board meetings, and that will be up to you, Member Castillo. The last thing is Pastor Jones, the pastor of our Family Bible Fellowship up the street from the Senior Center on Filbert. This Sunday from 11:30 until about 2:30, they're having a walk through Black History. So as part of Black History Month, and it'd be nice if you have the time, if you can stop by. It's really, they're set up in rooms, and each room has a lot of pictures, and they take you back in time on Black history, and it's really a learning experience, and it's a way to us showing that we support, the efforts of Pastor Jones and his church on sharing with us Black History Month. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Student Member Castillo, did you have a request, or is that an old one?
No, I knew I was forgetting something. I did want to give a quick shout out to both varsity basketball teams. They they won in the first round of NCS play. So the girls are playing second seed Montgomery High School tomorrow at 7.
Where is it at?
Montgomery High School. And then the boys will be playing Washington. Yeah, 7 o'clock at Washington. At Washington, yeah. They had. Yeah, it was an exciting game. I was there for the boys' game. 1 point, right? 2 points. 2 points. Yeah. Good free throws in the last 2 seconds. So yeah, I just did want to give a shout out to them, and I wish them both teams luck tomorrow.
Very good. Thank you. Thank you so much. Member Nguyen.
I was able to go to the science night at Graham, and I would highly recommend that if you haven't had the opportunity yet to stop at one of the school sites when they have the science night. It was a great turnout, and there was a lot of displays this year, mainly more focused on life science. But I think it was, some of the kids were a little disappointed because they didn't get to play with the, slime and oobleck. But I think it was a nice change for them to be exposed to different types of science curriculum this year. So that was great. And then also, I just have one ask, and so as we prepare for the school consolidation committee, I would like a list of all the properties that the district owns so we know what's going on. Thank you.
Thank you. Member Zhang?
So just follow up on that registration. I mean, in summary, just this lady made 3 trips to the district office. Took her more than a month to get her son registered. And so that's on that one. Last Friday, we had a great event at the Legal Volunteers Elegant Affairs banquet. So I was there representing Newark, and I want to congratulate our very own City Council member Michael Hannon for winning the auction on our school donated product. And I also want to thank other bidders because there are multiple bidders bidding on our donation, including Union Sanitary Board member, our very own Pat Kai, living in Newark, and Fremont City Council, Yan Shao. So, Mike, I know you're watching. So these 2 are the reason you pay such a high price on that. I really see more than 5 bidders on our product. So that's for Elegant Affair. And on a serious note, so ever since last summer, I started attending PTA meetings. I prioritize schools where we don't have sitting board members living in the attendance area. That's by my intention. I visited Kennedy School only after the resignation of Member Thomas. When I went to BGP, I brought President Martinez there. So naturally, Snow Elementary, where Member Rodriguez had grandkids there, and Grand Elementary, where we have 2 sitting board members living there, are at the bottom of my list. So I run out of the list. So So I will be attending the next Grand Elementary School, and the sitting 2 board member are welcome to join me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for the invitation.
Okay.
Sorry, Member Gutierrez.
No, no.
Actually,
sorry.
So on a personal note, my cousin and her husband, cousin-in-law back in China, they got the coronavirus 2 weeks ago, and I think they defeated the virus. They were discharged last week, so I guess they figured out a way to deal with this virus.
Good news.
Good news.
Member Gutierrez?
A little update on the consolidation committee. Thank you to all the community members that sent in applications. We really do appreciate it. We have looked over them, and hopefully our community members will be hearing back from us soon. As well, I wanted to say thank you very much to Mr. Merritt for inviting the board to the CTA breakfast coming up this weekend. So that's it for me. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for everybody's comments. Again, I want to thank staff and all of our partners. Really, this is not an easy time. We're all trying to, I think, solve for the same problem here. So again, thank you for continuing your work, and we look forward to more and more collaboration. Please reach out to all groups to make sure we hear from everyone. But thank you for your efforts. I too wanted to mention that several of us will be joining the Al Costa, which is the Alameda County and Contra Costa, I think, as well, or is it the NTA Association in Pleasant, and that'll be a breakfast on Saturday morning. Coming back to Member Zhang, you made me think about with the instance you shared about the bad experience in registration. And I do a lot of work in healthcare, and there's something called service recovery. Because coming back to the study session, we were talking about, hey, we're kind of assuming that we're going to continue to lose the 1.9% that we've been losing year over year, right? And on a very personal note, as a parent, but I can't shake my board hat off anytime I go to an event. And it was a meeting for eighth grade parents at the high school. And when I sit here and I talk about a culture of excellence, that is not what I saw. And this is a critical transition for our parents. And it was, it was apparent in the preparation of the facilities. It was apparent in the preparation or the lack thereof of the physical presentation that was shared, the messaging that was shared. So just like the example of a poor registration effort, it's that handoff, and it's such a critical handoff for us. So in the context of service recovery, what is our plan? We only have a limited number of instances where we touch parents firsthand, especially when having them all at one time. So I can literally say I lost sleep that night. So that is something I would like to ask the staff to come back with a service recovery plan. And that's in the immediate, right? But I think in general, and I hope that the rest of the board supports that request, because that's just one member at this point. But I think I will share a data point that reminded me of how critical that is. A parent of a very high achieving student approached me and said, I've been vacillating, do I stay here or not, right? And was very, pointed to the screen and said, well, what is this, right? So that is a real impact we're having to our students and to our families. Again, I did reach out to Superintendent Salinas. It's not meant to be punitive. It's not meant to be, but this is real feedback, right? So if we can work on a service recovery strategy as an immediate ask. And then I think that there's going to be a lot more of that, right, as we prepare to bring parents into our campuses. What is our strategy to make sure we're preparing? What are the requirements to make sure we are putting our best foot forward? Thank you. And with that, I'm sorry.
I would just like to say that I agree with you, President Martinez, in that sense. I think that, this is the second year that we're going through the online registration, and after the first year, there should have been an evaluation process and see how it was done, or how well it was executed, and if it wasn't, that we needed to improve it. And according to the experience that the parent that Member Zhang had mentioned, it was not, and that says a lot. We are supposed to be representing the community in a way that is supposed to be shining a light on their students, and we aren't able to help the families be able to even register their kids in school. So they're going to go to a private school where they're going to get the attention. So we need to put focus back onto giving the most attention and care in terms of registration and in terms of transitional, going from 6th to 7th and 8th through 9th, those kinds of things, informational nights, they're so important. And that basically spells it out, how your student's going to be doing at the schools for the next 4 years or 2 years or whatever. So I would really like to see that also. Thank you.
Thank you. And again, recognize you all have a lot on your plate, but please come to us and ask us for support. But we just need to acknowledge that this is happening. Thank you. Okay, so with that, Superintendent's concluding comments.
Yes, thank you. So I just as a response here, we do need to do better, and we need to do better as a community. It is not just going to be, Acting Superintendent Salinas who lifts all boats. And I do this as a challenge to our community, to our CSEA members, to our NTA members, to our NUMA members, that together we are going to have to really make that transition to build on our success, to really have this culture of excellence. Because I think as we start to look at where the energy and the focus is, we know some things are seasonal. Like right now, we are in the season, a very tough season for a lot of folks. But at the same time, we hear these compelling, awful incidents that can't continue to happen. So I do that also as we will bring back, I think, for discussion and our first thoughts around it. But I am going to ask our district community, our district employees, that we can't continue to do this. And it's not about being hard on people. It's about really building on the success that already exists. So I do ask for that patience, but I know that sometimes we only get one try with someone. So again, it's going to take a lot more folks to do this, and I send that out to our employee groups and our administrators. So we will follow up for that, for sure. Thank you, Mr. Rodriguez, we are planning to bring back more of an update on the consolidation committee, because it does sound like there's a lot of misunderstandings, and we need some clarity. And it is not to put the finger on anybody. I think, as it's a tough topic, and know that because the board had done some actions back in October of 2019, and then we came back with this idea of the 7-Eleven or an expanded committee, there's still a lot of confusion out there. But I think the good news, as Member Gutierrez shared, we made some, and Member Nguyen, made some progress today, and thank you to the folks that put in their applications. So we've got some next steps fresh off the press that just took place right before the study session. So we'll be bringing that back for information for the public. And finally, a big thank you to NTA and to the two negotiating teams. As we work through the next process, that was a tough process. And our labor partners, the negotiation team, really worked hard at the table to put kids at the focus and put kids at the center. But as we shared with our consolidation ideas, we know there's still tough work ahead of us to do. So thank you to NTA, thank you to the human resources and the negotiation team, which a lot of times, there's a very few of us up here, we wear many hats. So if there's negotiation for the full day, they're out of commission because that's their attention. So we got to continue to do better with less folks, but again, we can do better. So thank you.
Thank you, and with that, can I get a motion and a second to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Member Rodriguez moves. Member Zhang seconds. How do you vote?
I vote yes.
And please vote. Okay, I think Member Rodriguez, I'll show, close, and display. 5 ayes, please.
4 ayes.
Meeting adjourned 9:19. Thank you.